Lately, whenever I read reports or reviews of the ECW show, more often than not, I read things like, "Wow, Mark Henry's doing such an awesome job," or "Mark Henry looked like a huge star," or "Wow, Mark Henry really deserves another ECW title run." What? Okay, look, you know how PS Power talks about how wrestling fans have lowered their standards in order to accommodate a bad product? This is exactly the kind of crap he was talking about, okay? How low have your standards sunk if you've actually reached the point where you think that Mark Henry is great? Did you take your standards and throw them down to Marianas Trench? Mark Henry's matches are terrible, his promos are sleep-inducing, and just because he's been slightly less terrible recently than he's been for the last 10 plus years, that doesn't mean that he's still not one of the worst big men of this era, bar none. Brock Lesnar was a great big man. Sean O'Haire was a great big man. Abyss is a great big man. The Undertaker, even though I can't stand the guy, is a great big man. Mark Henry? You're all idiots. I think part of the problem is that when TNA realized that the beautiful people were such big ratings draws, they started using that drawing power as a crutch. And now they think they can just pimp the beautiful people all over the TV show, add Kip James to their act, put them in segments that don't really mean anything or are just plain bad, like the beauty pageant, for example, and it's going to draw ratings. I mean, how else do you explain the recent treatment of the beautiful people? They're all over Impact almost every single week, but they always lose. I mean, they're basically heavily featured enhancement talent. I mean, if this new strategy had been met with said drawing power evaporating, it might have made the writers think that the women can draw, but only if they're given good material to work with. But when the awful talent round of the beauty pageant, which was just painful to watch, I think we're all in agreement on that, draws better than the much-hyped return of a major star, then it just reinforces the belief that the beautiful people are just a means to an end, and it doesn't really matter what they're doing as long as they're on screen, which kind of concerns me, to be honest. All these idiots who are bitching about Taylor Wilde's Knockouts title run, saying that it killed the Knockouts division or it ruined Awesome Kong or it's just like when Santino won the IC title for the first time or whatever. First off, it's not like the Santino thing at all. What killed Santino's first IC title run was the fact that right after he won it, everyone realized that he sucked as a wrestler. Taylor doesn't have that problem. And her title run hasn't killed anything, much less Awesome Kong. Kong's act was getting stale because she'd been doing the same damn thing for like 8 months straight. It was time to take the belt off of her, but how do you do it? Gail Kim was the only woman on the roster who could credibly beat Kong. She's plowed through everybody else, but Gail just had a title match and lost and then moved on to a feud with Angelina. So what did they do? They brought in somebody new and fresh, somebody that most of the mainstream fans weren't familiar with. That means that these fans wouldn't be able to say that this person can't do this or can't do that because they don't know what she's capable of because they've never seen her before. She comes in as a blank slate. So that way, when they build up Taylor as the person that for some reason Awesome Kong just can't seem to beat, it works because that's the way they introduced her character from the start. Stuff like this happens in MMA all the time. Lots of people were saying that Chuck Liddell was unbeatable, but then Rampage came along and destroyed him in like 2 minutes. The same thing applies to wrestling. Taylor just has Kong's number. Both victories she got in a way that didn't seem unbelievable. They played it up like she was the underdog who got the surprise win both times. Her wrestling's great. She hasn't had a bad match yet. So what's the problem? Two words. Transitional champion. Thanks a lot, Vince. All these people who bash all the problems with TNA but then don't give them any credit at all when they do something great. And I'll give you a perfect example. The 12-man elimination match at Victory Road. Much like the escape match at Lockdown, I read a lot of reviews of this show from people who downplayed this match and dismissed it as a generic spot fest. And I actually think that's kind of funny, because if those people saw that exact same match take place in a WWE ring, they would piss all over themselves and then scream from the rooftops about how it was the greatest thing of all time. But because it's TNA, it's a spot fest that didn't tell a story. Who cares? Would you rather watch that match not tell a story, or would you rather watch frickin' Kane and Batista tell a story by giving each other bear hugs for 20 minutes? For the last several months, whenever the subject of Michelle McTaker comes up, I see a lot of people on here saying, "Oh, she's improved so much. Oh, she's doing really great. Wow, she's such a great role model. Oh, she really deserves to be the Divas Champion." Oh, boy. Alright, first of all, to give the devil her due, she's not altogether terrible in the ring like some of the other divas are. I mean, she's still pretty hit and miss in my opinion, but that's beside the point. Let me ask you this. If Michelle McTaker is so good, if she's improved so much like many people say, then how many memorable matches has she had? How many matches has she had that made you stand up out of your seat and go, "Wow, now that was impressive"? Example, Gail Kim Awesome Kong. Example, Mischief Cheerleader Melissa. How many matches like that has she had? And until she has a match of that caliber, until she proves that she's more than just some Diva Search contestant who sees pro wrestling as her fast track to the cover of Playboy, then I just refuse to believe that Michelle McTaker is anything more than an admittedly athletic model who can do a few nice moves, is in serious need of some acting lessons, and got her spot because she just happened to be sleeping with The Undertaker. I've seen a lot of internet wrestling pundits and a lot of the fans criticizing TNA's new versus old War for Respect storyline for not having any clear-cut faces and heels for people to get behind. Now, RVD Tito for Life covered this really well in their recent video, but what I want to add is an example of how clear-cut faces and heels are not always necessarily a good thing. Remember that old WWE storyline, the big mystery of who ran over Stone Cold in the parking lot? The ill-conceived heel turn that basically ended Rikishi's WWE career? The thing of it was that it wasn't the heel turn itself that didn't work, it was how they followed it up. You see, when it was first revealed that Rikishi was the one who ran over Stone Cold, he explained that he did it for The Rock because lots of the Samoans had always been held back in the wrestling business because of racism, and he was afraid of this happening with Rock and Austin, and he honestly and truly believed that what he did was right. And it was a brilliant, incredibly emotional, heartfelt moment. And even though you hated Rikishi for doing what he did, there was a little part of you that couldn't help but sympathize and feel sorry for him. The problem was what happened after that. Because after that, Rikishi's whole character became unrecognizable. It wasn't just a gimmick repackaging. His entire personality changed. Okay? Almost overnight, he changed from a sympathetic, morally gray character into a mean-spirited asshole. He even turned on Scotty 2 Hotty and Grandmaster Sexay, and it made no sense because why would he act like a bastard to Too Cool when they were always his buddies and never tried to hold him back or anyone else? The WWE writers took a beautifully executed piece of character development and they turned it into just another old-school cookie-cutter heel turn. And why? To make Rikishi the clear-cut bad guy, to make it easier for people to boo him even though it made no fucking sense at all. Surprise, surprise, it didn't work. And as a result, that heel turn is widely regarded as the storyline that killed Rikishi's WWE career. Now, for all you people who are bitching about how this TNA storyline is no real faces, no real heels, I have a question for you. How can we have a clear-cut good guy and bad guy if the people on both sides of this feud have legitimate arguments and honestly believe that what they're doing is the right thing to do? Look, sometimes in life there are no easy answers, and you can't classify characters as stereotypically good or evil anymore. The audience is a lot smarter than they used to be, it's lazy writing, and most of the time people just aren't going to buy it.